Well, there are also new questions this hour about the White House, the Democratic National Committee, and these protests in Wisconsin. We learned today that some of these protests are being organized by the DNC and Organizing for America. That's the president's political machine. And there are new questions today about whether that is appropriate. Fox News contributor Karl Rove was on the broadcast at the top of the hour and asked if the DNC is encouraging teachers to leave their classrooms and instead march at the Capitol, are they encouraging people to break the law or at least violate their contracts? And what is the fallout from that? Joining me now, our power panel. Andrea Tantaros, conservative columnist and Fox News contributor. Sam Bennett, the CEO of the Women's Campaign Forum. And Krystal Ball, a Democratic strategist and former Virginia congressional candidate. All right, so let me start with you, Andrea, on the news today that the president's fundraising arm and his political operation and the DNC are largely behind what we're seeing in Wisconsin.
I think it's not appropriate at all. It's very controversial. I think it's a huge mistake. Take partisan politics out of this, Megan. I think it is a huge mistake for Barack Obama to get involved in state matters. We saw this blowback when he got involved in city matters, the mosque in downtown Manhattan. It blew up in his face. Now he's getting involved in state matters, and the governor said, but out of this. Plus, this is a special interest. Democrats are tied to unions. They're always charged with this. And as Karl Rove pointed out, there are legal issues. Look, it doesn't look good for a president to be arguing for democracy in Cairo, but not in Wisconsin.
That's exactly democracy. Yeah. That's exactly what's going on. I couldn't disagree with you more on this, Andrea. It's not a legal issue. The right to organize is a fundamental American right in this country. And quite frankly, unions are not democratic operatives. Now, unions are nonpartisan. Now, it just so happens Democratic politicians tend to support them and their issues of working family more than Republicans. But the bottom line here, the teachers have absolutely the right to organize. They have absolutely the right to fight.
But the president shouldn't get involved.
People are making they're trying to make political hay out of this situation. The president
isn't political hay, Sam.
Andrew, what I would say is, politically, it is very risky. I will say that. But I understand why they're getting involved, because there's a very core principle here. The middle class has been continually squeezed. And this is saying, you know what, this is enough. And I say this as someone who would not have had the opportunities that I've had in life if it were not for my parents and their grandparents having union jobs. So this is something that is very important to me, and I'm glad to see them.
Let me ask you what I asked Alan Combs, right, as two Democrats.
Right. Sure.
I don't think you can argue that the unions have the right to be upset. If they have the right to be upset, who can legitimately dispute that?
Absolutely.
But do they have the right to leave the state? Mm-hmm. The Democratic Democratic senators have left the state to prevent a vote from happening on these austerity measures. And do the teachers have the right to leave the classroom, or are their rights more in terms of protesting during legitimate hours and that kind of thing, and then going to the ballot box next time around and saying, forget these Republicans?
You first, Krystal, and I'll dive on that one.
I think that they feel like this is their last option. This is their last chance to take a stand and to win something that's not just important for the state, but it is a principle for the nation.
The principle is they're teachers. They're not going to work.
And you know what? I'm someone who has actually been relatively critical of the teachers' unions. I work in education. I'm a proponent of education reform. But I think I totally understand where they're coming from.
They're
very important
up against
fight.
the wall. And quite frankly, Wisconsin, so goes the country. This is coming up everywhere
Several
across
states.
the country.
That's right.
And so this is sending a clear message that these teachers have the right to organize. They have the right to stand up for a fair working wage.
And this is not just going to be trampled on.
And the Republican Party,
but trampled on, they're going to lose on the vote. The lawmakers are going to take a vote and they're going to lose because there's 19 Republicans and 14 Democrats.
But they've got to make a point. And listen, in Washington,
Okay,
we've had sit-ins, we've had protests.
We're missing the point,
Sam.
The president, this is the news of the day. The president is involved and the DNC is involved.
No, what's happening
This is a huge issue.
What's going on is we're coming into election season, so Obama can sneeze left, and the Republicans are going to die.
It's bigger than a sneeze. It's bigger than a sneeze. And you know what? The way Reagan dealt with, I'm telling you, this is a mistake for him. Look at how Reagan dealt with the unions when he had trouble with air traffic control. He fired them and brought in the National Guard.
This isn't going to be perceived as a mistake by the left.
Wait,
Nope.
the left isn't going to think, but I think the greater public will say, what's the president doing butting his nose in business for his special interests?
How about independents? They've been the core, constituent group that he's been trying to appeal to for months now.
It's not that Obama woke up in the morning and is personally in the state doing this.
No, it's Organizing for America, which is his political arm.
Right. But still, no, but this is all very legitimate because it is election season for the president. He has this organization founded, and quite frankly, the value systems that working Americans need to have represented is what Obama represents. That's why he was elected. And this is
how long can it go on, though? How long can it go on, right? Because now the Democratic senators in Wisconsin are saying they may stay out of town in Illinois or elsewhere for days or weeks. And the teachers, Trace Gallagher told me earlier, it's 19 to 20 school districts that have been shut down because the teachers haven't shown up, and more that are affected because sporadically teachers haven't shown up. How long can this go on?
I think the important point here is this is a national movement of quite frankly, there are elements in the Republican Party, far right, who want to close down unions, take away their power. Look at the McCain-Feingold Campaign Reform Act. That's what that was all about.
No,
that was
the country has to shut down the unions. They are bankrupting the state.
Oh,
the teachers aren't the ones back against the wall, Sam. The governors of this country are.
If you do not believe in unions, what you believe is the government needs to come in and make sure that employers take care of their employees.
But this governor said, what this governor said was, I'm sorry, I have to ask you to contribute a little bit more to your pensions and your health care. Still not as much as the private sector. And I have to suspend the collective bargaining rights because I got nothing to bargain with. There's no dough.
But that's the point. You cannot suspend collective bargaining.
That's what they're really talking about.
When are you going to get them back? I think these workers are entirely willing to sit down at the negotiating table. They're willing to sacrifice. That's not what this is about. This is about their right to collective bargaining. And if it's a temporary suspension, to start with, it's going to end up being,
they don't seem willing to bargain.
Okay, I got to move on. We had so many topics to get to with the power panel, but wasn't that more interesting? I think so. So I want to skip right to what we all think is the next most interesting, which is this high school wrestler. It's not a national story, but it's a really interesting story. Yeah. This high school wrestler forfeits his match at the state tourney rather than face a girl who made it in fair and square, 112-pounder weight class, sophomore Megan Black.
That's impressive.
All right? We're all there. Right?
All in that weight class.
And here's the boy's father trying to shed some light on it.
Joel believes, based on his conscience and his faith, that girls should be treated with dignity and respect, and taking nothing away from those two female athletes, but wrestling's a combat sport. And they're out there, and it gets violent at times, and my son doesn't believe that girls should be engaged in that way.
You clearly agree. I can see that in your face.
A girl with dignity and respect is to treat her with equality. Right. My daughter was the only girl on a boys' soccer team. That was a huge achievement for her athletically. Yeah. So what women need is to be, if you're as fast and as good and as strong as this young woman obviously is, then what's the problem here? He's not treating her with dignity and respect. He's treating her with sexism.
Is he allowed to feel uncomfortable? Here she is.
See, we are going to disagree a little bit. I was actually giving a speech to a university in South Carolina about this yesterday. I agree that women should be equal. Absolutely, they should have opportunities. But sometimes there are situations when we push women in certain fields that either
she wasn't pushed.
You know what?
It starts to infringe on men's rights.
This is a middle road here. So I played water polo in college. Very common for women to initially enter a new sport and compete with the boys, which is what we did at my school. It was fine. I think these women are trailblazers. I think they're to be admired. I think they're to be applauded.
No question.
But I also do think the young man was completely within his rights to say that this makes me uncomfortable for religious or whatever reasons. Right. I'm opt out. That's fine.
I'm out.
And I thought he and Megan, the girl, I thought they both handled it with a lot of maturity and grace.
They did. I would love to see what happened, though, if Michael Jordan tried to join the girls' basketball team in junior high.
This is very different.
This
is Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King all over again.
I was the only girl on the all-boys baseball team when I was a very little girl in Little League, and I hit the game-winning home run, and then I played the stereotype by crying all the way around the base. All right, thank you. Great debate, all of you. Appreciate it. Got another alert coming in just in. House Republicans passing their first attempt to defund the president's new health care law. The move coming during the debate to keep the government running for the next 7 months. A live report on what that means right after the break.